Hello, and you're listening to the AI Moment with me, Jonathan Wagstaffe.
And me, Danny Denhard. So today we're going to dive into, is SEO dying at AI's hands? This comes after a number of different conflicting reports that have come out, but there's a really good one from SparkToro. So Jonathan's going to help us navigate, is SEO really dying, or is there something else at hand with AI at play? So Jonathan, where are we really at, and how can we help our listeners?
Well, where are we really at, Dan, is the question, isn't it? I think you're absolutely right. There is a big debate going on right now, and a number of the industry heavy hitters weighing in. And as you said, Rand Fishkin at SparkToro has really nailed his colours to the mast in one corner. I'm seeing other players with different views. But I think one of the problems with this debate is that there are a number of crossed ideas at play. So if we take it kind of one step at a time, are people still searching for things on the internet? Of course they are. More than ever they are. There's more search going on than has ever happened before. So people are still out there looking for guidance. That's not stopped, and that's not going to stop. And in fact, it's going to increase like mad. Are they all, as some would have us believe, now all using AI tools rather than traditional search tools? No. If you look at the numbers, still AI represents 1 or 2% of search. Even perplexity and the AI search tools, there's still a tiny amount of what goes on. So the vast bulk of this is the same. Now, is search the engine of growth and discovery that it used to be? Well, no, it isn't. The days when you could decide on a keyword, write a blog post around that keyword, SEO the life out of it, and then drive a load of traffic to your website have also gone. So SEO as it was a few years ago is definitely no longer true. If you look at things like Google search, the fact that if you search on Google now, you now see an AI sort of summary of the question you've asked sometimes. Yes, AI is helping to kill search then, because quite often the question is being answered on the screen by AI. So there is an impact without doubt. Now, we know from some stuff that SparkToro did last year, they did some work with Datos about what happens to searches, and they looked at both North America and Europe. And what they found was around about 60% of all searches get answered on page. So there is no further action after you search for something, say on Google. The data you get on the page that comes up is enough to answer your question. So you might be asking for what's the time in Japan. There's a little widget that tells you straight away. There may be some information in the AI piece that comes up that tells you. So 60% of the time you don't go anywhere else. And of the 40% that do go somewhere else, about a quarter of those go to another Google property like YouTube. And then of the what's left, so we're now down to 30% of the original search volume. Quite a few of those are where people are looking for something specific, like say BMW's website, but rather than trying to remember the URL, they just type BMW into the search bar and it brings up their website. So they're shortcutting typing the URL in by going for search. We've got a lot of things that are at play there that mean the search world that we knew a few years ago definitely isn't where it was and definitely has changed. AI is contributing to that change. But where does that leave us right now? Well, it leaves us at a point of flux, doesn't it? I think we have to realize that those of us who are in the world of search, we have to understand that zero click is now a world we've got to work with. We've got to work with the fact that there will be AI summaries on the result page. We've got to work with the fact that we're not going to get a lot of traffic driven by Google like that. We've got to work with the fact that's also true in the social media platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook, where you're penalized for trying to drive people off those pages. We also need to understand that AI is going to be an increasing search engine, and we'll talk on another pod about agentic AI and what difference that might make. So where does that leave us? I've not got a solid answer on that one, Dan. You may have. We're in a world of change. The old certainties aren't true. It's not as simple as, is AI going to kill search or not? There's a much more complex question at play. But it's certainly true that if you've got people who are trying to bring the same tactics they brought a few years ago, you're wasting your time. And the final thing I'd say on that is I'd advise all of our listeners to be really, really careful about Google ad spend, because that whole ads driving traffic it's in a state of flux, which again, it's not as certain as it was a few years ago. And there's lots of questions around exactly what you do with Google ad spend. Maybe that's a subject for a different pod. I don't know. Dan, I've talked for ages there. So what do you think?
It's really important to call out where the usage is actually happening and how you get the best results. So Google is great as a utility, and it's great to give you options. So they give you options based on your answer, and it's a very good advertising engine. What I would say is Bing and Google are very much search engines. You've now got a new breed of engine, which is an answer engine, which is like Perplexity, which gives you very succinct answers very quickly, and they source the citations where they've pulled it from. And that's very important to understand, that you can generate answers really quickly. And what you'll notice is AI mode, which is the mode that Google are now employing and Bing have started to as well, provides answers really quickly with some links to sites, but people basically don't click out on it. And then what I call AI engines and LLMs, which are Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot, and Meta's equivalent, which is called Llama. So these are all very different behaviors which people will be leveraging. The AI engines are very much prompt-based. So it's a completely new language. It's a completely new behavior. And that's why a lot of people are struggling to adopt that and move over to it. So yes, they have search mode built in, but the job to be done, if you want to use another framework, very much is to give you an output, versus a search engine, which very much is to give you optionality and potential answers and for you to do research. So the way I explain very quickly is, for search and SEO, you've still got educate state where people want to find out more information. You've got want state, so they want to find out more. They need to do a bit more research. They need to find out who's available, what's great for them, a good product. You've got need state, which is I need it, so I'm just going to go and find the prices. And I need to replace something or find a service that's going to do it. And then there's action state, which is I'm going to take action. I just need it to do X, Y, and Z for me. And what I want people to understand is search engines very much are the top three, and they're never really going to drive you down further in those states. Whereas with AI, you can be very quickly escalated from the education all the way through to purchase really quickly, so the action state. So these are all new ways of working, but I want to call it out because all the ways that people are going to say SEO is dying, search is very different. Their behaviors are different, but the intentionality of those engines are different. So I'll just be very mindful of those few things. On the newsletter, which accompanies the podcast, I'll break that down and add some imagery and stuff so people get a real flavor for it. But I just think it's really important that we call that out. And once that we understand the ideology of these different engines, is really important then to understand how you would repoint resource or budgetary requirements. And as you said right at the top, with the usage so low in comparison to search, as in on Google, now is the time for a lot of people to decide whether they're going to invest a lot more into AI and AI engines, or they're going to continue but optimize the way they're working with search. So for me, the question still remains, where are you going to put your investment and where the chips you're going to put on for AI, and understand that the behaviors will be different, but the world, as more and more people come across AI, they're going to start using their normal behavior into AI to see if it's any better. So that's how I'm recommending it at the moment. And I think it's quite a good foundational way to look at things.
It makes complete sense, Dan. And I would say the with the world in the state of flux it's in, I think any kind of framework approach like you've just described is, understand what each part of this process is for, understand how you're going to play with it. My own view is that we will be in a state of flux with this stuff, and the debate will rage until we see agentic AI kick in. I think as we start to see agents kick in over the next 12 to 18 months, then the thing resets again. But at the moment, it's I guess my TLDR for people is, yes, there's a debate about search versus AI. Yes, I'm not sure that's the exact frame of the debate for the reasons you said. There's a lot of confused opinion out there. And I think this is going to resolve out with agentic web in about a year's time. And that will be the subject of another pod that we'll talk about soon.
Exactly. So I think there's a lot of food for thought, but also a lot of actions for people to take. So Jonathan, that was a particularly useful episode for business leaders, and particularly to talk to the CMOs and the equivalents. Thanks for your insights, and I look forward to our next episode.
I'll see you next time, Danny. Take care.
Thanks for listening today. If you have any questions, please reach out via the show notes below. You can also subscribe to our supporting newsletter released with every podcast. Go to aimoment.co.uk and hit subscribe. We share more important links, run-throughs of the tools mentioned in the podcast, and more. See you next time.